Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. You know, I've seen that video a couple of times, and it always blows me away, just the quality of the artists who use this network, and it never ceases to amaze me, really, how amazing they are and what they can do. So listen, this is a session I'm actually quite excited about. I've had a lot of community feedback around the direction of our API-driven approach. And we really wanted to make sure we brought in a cross-section of partners here to talk through how folks intend to use the Render Network, in addition to the folks who use rendernetwork.com today. And so with me today, I have Devesh, founder of Simulon. I've got Mike, also I think founder of Think, to be behind CEO of Think. And I've got Edward, CEO of Gember. And you know, what's been a fantastic process for us the last couple of months has been working with the scouts to go out and identify partners who have an interest in using decentralized consumer compute and fostering relationships with them, helping build the right solution. And what I'm really excited about today is we're at a point now where we can start showcasing and talking about some of the types of products that they'll be able to run on the network. And that's a great point to be at. Now, obviously, we're not there yet on the compute side. We've got a vote hopefully coming up tomorrow on the compute network on RNP 19. But on the rendering side, most people don't know this, but we've actually had one partner for a fairly long time called Swatchbook. And I'm really excited at the potential now of opening up the platform further, of folks who are using Blender to expand that beyond where we stand today. So with that being said, I'd love to just do a small clip. Well, I haven't prepped with Devesh, but would you like me to do the clip first, or should we sort of just intro? I would say probably a brief background on what Simulon does, and you know, how you could utilize decentralized distributed consumer compute would be a good starting point for the crew here.
Cool. Hey everyone. So yeah, I think like a lot of you here, especially the artists and studios, you know, there's probably like a moment that got you into this industry, and for me it was Jurassic Park, and I think that's shared with a lot of people as well. And then since then, you know, I've had this like vision of just telling my own stories, especially like dino-related content, which we're passionate about. But then I think the reality hits you of the industry and what it's like to actually work in it. And it's super limiting for a lot of reasons. I think, you know, workflow is one of those things, and then compute is the other part that has really been exclusive to the big studio model. And I think what we've done is we've really solved the workflow side, where we've taken this fragmented, multi-tool, multi-skill workflow, and we've unified it into a single end-to-end cohesive experience. And it makes it really easy and intuitive for you to create VFX content that feels super believable. And then we've got this modular ML pipeline. So there's a number of areas that we have been testing out the render network. So hence why I'm just mentioning that part before even getting to rendering. Right. And then you know, you get basically a fully editable 3D scene graph at the end of everything that you create with the app. So it really does cater to professional, prosumer, or even 3D hobbyists, all the way to content creators who don't want to touch a 3D tool. And then I think by democratizing the tooling like this, there's a big need for compute to scale up. If a lot more people are going to access 3D, and the demand for being able to produce really cool digital effects content increases significantly. And I think that's where we've come to realize that, especially now with all of the AI wars going on, the big cloud providers are really just trying to beat all the big AI companies. And scaling up can be quite tricky, especially if you hit a hockey stick curve, which is what we're hoping to do. We've got quite a significant wait list and interest in our pre-launch product. And yeah, testing the GPU render network has been amazing. Integration was incredibly easy, and it was also really great to get instant feedback from the team. We had requests for a couple of features were implemented in pretty much a day. We were up and running in a day as well. And yeah, the nice thing is obviously building in the economies of scale and the scale dynamics with the render network and incentivizing a decentralized community. We can't scale arbitrarily.
Love it, amazing. So for those of you who haven't conceptualized their product before, it's really driven by an app, and that app allows you to either through an augmented reality or a virtual reality experience interact with both live elements and other 3D elements in a way that can really change creation. And for us as a group, we're really excited at what that does in terms of opening up a whole new range of creators who haven't yet learned 3D to the extent many of our artists have, but want to create amazing things online. So, I'm wowed by it. What I love about the scalability aspect is that's really where I think the render network stands out. We have a network of idle compute there for on-demand work, and as these guys scale up in the App Store, we're hoping to be the provider who really helps them scale and delivers that rendering compute to their users across the globe.
Yep, absolutely.
You have a clip you prepared it?
Yeah, so this clip, actually we were in San Francisco just before, we're new to the US, and we were just in San Francisco before arriving here. And just to give you an idea, this clip was created end-to-end, like after the animation, in basically 2 days. So yesterday I'd done a bit more work on it on the Blender side. But yeah, rendering in about 15 minutes for the whole sequence on the cloud, distributed cloud rendering. And this is in 4K and shots straight out of the app. So everything that you see from environment lighting, camera tracking, all of that stuff, animation, timecode, sync, it's all automated through the workflow. So it's just like literally pick up and shoot after you have an asset that you drop in the world.
Go for it. So Devesh, that's just a car in real life. This is video. The only additional element is the dinosaur here? Or how much of it is seen?
Yeah, no, the car and the dinosaur.
The car and the dinosaur.
Both CG there.
Amazing. Wow.
So this is like no comp work or anything. So the whole thing is automated on the cloud.
Wow. Amazing.
Yeah.
So this for me is a great first step. You heard Blender being live on the network, but for me more exciting than just being live is also available through the API and having partners that could actually utilize it. So I'm very excited by what that integration brings on so many fronts. For me it's direct, it's potentially through API, and then even a next step, and it's a good bridge here as we talk about Mike and the Think side, is I actually see Blender as being a central piece towards agentic creation, particularly on the motion graphics side. I would guess most of you have seen the clips of MCP integrating with Blender and that essentially being used as a prompt tool to generate a scene in a way that doesn't need you to actually utilize Blender, really just driven by voice control or by prompt control. And it gets me quite excited when I think about what Blender will open up here. then as things move towards agentic possibilities. So, you guys saw Mike here a while ago back in the last presentation, but for me, I'm so excited to be working with people who are on the cutting edge of agentic platforms and agentic work. And it's not just the Blender piece, but across the board, jobs that could be run on the network that make it such an exciting prospect.
Yeah. Thanks. And what you saw there, when you see a dinosaur and a car that look absolutely real, you can just think digital and physical are merging, right? Like our GPUs are so powerful and our AI models are so powerful, we're literally having less understanding of what reality is, the edges of blurring, right? Eric Schmidt from Google says, hey, we are in a spot where within the next 5 years, every AI agent will be smarter than all people combined. That's the San Francisco consensus. So you got to ask yourself, in a world where that's true, what's my role? And what I would say is our role is we're the first super intelligent agents. We're the ones who, if we actually can own these things and control them, we can actually be like the seed that plants a forest each, right? Like I can control as many agents as the CEO of the biggest corporation or the head of the biggest government. That's the kind of power that's going to be in the hands of the creators soon, right? Like literally each one of you, if you have a movie that's in your head that you've wanted to design, end to end in that very short period of time, right? Like in the amount of time that it takes for most kids to get through college, we are all going to have that power. And Think Agents, which we can put up here, is kind of the foundation of that. So if you think about how Netscape made the dot-com boom happen because permissionless innovation was allowed, this is what we're doing with Think Agents. We're having an open source, permissionless, you can hit play on this guy. It is playing. I guess I'm talking over the top of it usually. And so this is Think Agents. This is all about the ability to own your intelligence. And we're about to go over here, and we're showing, this is an interface where we have like a 3D character over here. So we have a panel over here for creative applications. So when we've got the Blender MCP set up, like that would be like the code that you'd be watching come through, making Blender work. And I'm explaining this stuff, and since I already did it once, I kind of don't want to do it again. But you can see we've got inference from any of the major decentralized inference providers. We've got agents, we've got apps, and we've got this whole creator space over here. And so what we're going to do now is we're going to show an agent that actually gets trained off of Render's documentation. So we've got that whole website that gets pulled in this is kind of the ugly interface that we have. There's a prettier interface that's going to be coming as we move towards public alpha. And I ask it down here, hey, what do I do with Render's new AI generation, and how do I get started? I've got the list of the different decentralized inference providers that I can use. I'm going to load a render agent here that has like specific personality for answering this, and then I'm going to give it access to a library. All this stuff will make happen behind the scenes soon, but just so that you can kind of see what's happening here. This is going out and hitting decentralized GPUs, and what you can actually see is you actually have bookmarks here for where in the documents you can go find these things, right? So these agents, whatever your own personal database is, they have access to. And it's pointing here where you can go for that. As you can see over on the left-hand side, each one of those folders is a different agent. And so you can send the render agent to go talk to the architect, and actually it's going to load up this like massive archive of AI product best practices, and it's going to help the person organize an application that fast, right? And so I hope you can see that as you start to take these tools and piece them together, like we're trying to be the browser, right? Like the browser is not really sexy, but what happens when you have a browser that anybody can launch Google off of, or Amazon, or whatever? And that's the reason that I love Render so much, is like Render was the first DPIN to actually, decentralized physical infrastructure network, to actually be able to bring like actual GPUs online. And what happened when Ethereum and Bitcoin did permissionless innovation like that is the Bitcoin mining network is, in terms of compute, is way larger than Amazon Web Services. Right? When you allow people, when you get a market in place that wants to buy something, and you allow anybody to go and be an entrepreneur on top of it, that's when you see this kind of hockey stick curve happen. And like if I was going to be betting on something, I would bet that Render, or something that looks exactly like Render, is going to become the way that compute becomes a commodity that we can all like kind of build our lives on top of.
Well, that's a strong hope. I love it.
I think it's true. I'm betting a lot on it.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah, I mean, talking to Ahmad earlier and listening to him, he was talking about centralized versus decentralized, and really believing there's a place for both.
Mm-hmm.
And what I'm loving here as we go through this is is hearing where there may be a better fit on decentralized. And when Edward and I were talking earlier here, for me, a big part of what we've been looking for with Scouts and team is we've been on this journey to find how to utilize distributed, decentralized consumer GPUs. And it's been challenging. You know, I don't think they're well suited to LLM training in the form that people train LLMs today. I mean, that could change in the future, but very much not the best medium for that now. And as we partnered with folks, we went through a series of RMPs where we went to marketplaces. But what we realized at its core was that we needed to get more involved. We needed to understand who these people were, what their use cases were, and were they use cases that could be done offline. And to me, that's probably the part I'm most excited about as we introduce Edward here into the mix, is I'm starting to see these use cases emerge.
Thank you so much. Is this on? Nope, not on. Oh, part you guys got that one? Sweet, thank you. I'm Edward, founder of Gember, and thank you so much for having me here. Exciting times. I'm not going to go into my whole background or history, but I started working with AI in the 90s. Deterministic models, saw the rise of the generative models, the transformers. The types of industries that I've been involved in, nowhere near as much fun as VFX and video production. I'm a money guy. We move a lot of money. We've done it for hedge funds. We've done it for big banks. We've done it for big card networks. So it's moving trillions of dollars a day is the world that we're in. And we've been leveraging AI for that in a lot of uses. And I got given the challenge about 8 weeks ago to be like, okay, how would you use the render network in this infrastructure? And how would you use it to solve for distributed inference compute? And I loved the challenge. So I was immediately stepped up to it and was like, okay, this is going to be fun. And what we discovered was the way we'd originally architected our workflows, we assumed that everything had to be centralized, everything had to be run end to end by us to ensure the security, the reliability, and the integrity. And I've been playing with blockchain and decentralized infrastructures pretty extensively since about 2015. So very familiar with distributed ledger architectures and leveraging those implementations. And what we put together, and I got to give Adam and the tech team, a huge credit. Render Network, Otoy, everyone came together. Within about 4 weeks, we were suddenly able to leverage the render APIs. We're able to leverage the render APIs to take all of our inference compute that's not super sensitive or doesn't have to be fully real time offline. We're able to run that compute offline to do pretty sophisticated AI workflows. So we create a set of agentic workflows that basically ensure the orchestration of transactions in real time and all the compliance and verification and everything that enables trust around those transactions in real time. And so that's why I never thought I'd be able to use render, and I never thought I'd be sitting on this stage. And it came together perfectly. And the way it came together perfectly was apply old architectures, batch, offline processes. We did an async workflow, and the render network performed magnificently at 1/10 of the cost.
It's music to my ears.
Yeah.
Async batch workflows, I think, are exactly what we're trying to seek out, and I'm so excited we're finding these now. There's a big part of this we haven't described, and there's a third part to this this partnership in Manifest. The team here have been fantastic. They're actually the folks who we started talking to, and you were working with them directly at that point. And what I love seeing out of this is there's almost the ability to run secure, centralized jobs on Manifest infrastructure, and then for the ones that can leverage distributed and don't have similar security needs, why not do it at 1/10 of the cost? It's just, to me, a fantastic solution, and one that really works for a partner end to end. Instead of you trying to run those secure jobs on the render network and needing real-time aspects when you're transferring very large amounts of financial data. So it's phenomenal to see these come together and really makes sense for a partner like you.
Well, it's the speed that it happens. And so I guess sharing a little behind the scenes, you took me and introduced me to your CTO, and I had a chance to sit down. And we have a security issue that we want to solve, and there's some encryption and cryptography we want to implement. And he's like, yeah, we'll work with you on that. And my guess is in a couple of weeks, we'll have it figured out. We'll have a new function on the API, and we'll be able to move more of our workflows onto render.
Fantastic. Yeah. I mean, one of our core concepts on the render network is security. For us, you've got motion graphics artists who are creating valuable work, and a lot of how we built the network has really been to help solve for that, to help make sure they don't lose their work in a way when someone is doing the processing in a distributed manner. So I'm certain many of those learnings can be brought over onto the other side, and I can't wait for that to open up even more avenues. That's really awesome to hear.
It's an amazing synergy because we're all about high availability, high reliability, high trust, but no one has a commitment to quality and output like Hollywood. And when you see the end result, like a dinosaur walking around a car, that's pretty freaking cool. We want to generate those kinds of results by making sure that your money's where it's supposed to be, how it's supposed to be, without any fraud, without any theft.
Amazing, amazing. You guys have a video you want to show us?
We do, if you guys are up for it. So first of all, we're not video guys. We're not VFX. This will probably be the lowest quality video you see here, but it does sum up the journey and the pain that we've been through.
I may want to say, should we step to the side here?
If you want, yeah.
Yeah.
In 2005, I sat across the table from a third-party auditor for 16 hours straight. In 2010, I did it again, 8 hours this time, trying to prove compliance for 3 different agencies, all using different checklists. None of them aligned. Product teams trying to ship, security trying to protect, auditors chasing documentation, regulators unclear about the very systems they oversee. The laws were vague, the tools were siloed, and no one shared the same source of truth. Data was stored and managed across various operational and transactional databases, as well as the data warehouses and data lakes for aggregation and analytics. I've seen the friction between departments, the delays, the finger pointing. I've seen the cost of lost trust, internally and with partners. As a software engineer with a deep background in payments and AI, I knew we could do better. That's why we built Jember. In almost every bank or payments processor I've worked with, whether it was a PayFac, a sponsor bank, or a fintech startup, the story was the same. One system for routing, another for onboarding, another for compliance, another for payouts, another for accounting, another for planning and analytics, another for audits. The data was fragmented, the rules were duplicated, and every team from risk to product to audit was working from a different version of the truth. And that's what breaks trust. Jember changes that. We built an infrastructure for financial trust, one that unifies transaction orchestration and compliance monitoring in real time. We call it Chain of Trust Choreography, and it gives teams, partners, and regulators a shared, verifiable record of who the transactors are, what the transaction is, where, when, and the context in which the transaction happened. It flags gaps before they become delays. It works with tools you already use, and it makes it easy for everyone, accounting, legal, compliance, audit, ops, and trusted partners, to work from the same source of truth. Because when the truth is shared, trust flows. And when trust flows, so does revenue. That's the power of Jember Chain of Trust. What if trust wasn't something you had to prove every time a regulator calls, every time a partner needs data, every time a transaction hits a snag? What if trust was built in at the moment of the transaction? Verified once, composable everywhere. That's Chain of Trust Choreography. This isn't just compliance infrastructure. It's infrastructure for secure, programmable, verifiable trust across the full life cycle of every transaction. At the core is a modular stack. Data choreography manages how data flows, transforms, and persists across systems. Agent choreography executes AI-enabled workflows with context and precision. Compliance choreography ensures dynamic, real-time governance. All powered by 2 foundational services: Jember's Compliance Reference Repository, a structured, auditable source of applicable laws, rules, and partner requirements; Jember's Customer-Defined Knowledge Graph, a context-aware map of obligations, roles, policies, and transactions. With Jember's new Chain of Trust foundational services, transactions are orchestrated end to end. Transactor and transaction verification are persistent and portable. Contextual metadata flows with the transaction, not separate from it. Trusted partners can access exactly what they need, securely and verifiably. This infrastructure is running live today on Render GPUs for distributed inference, Manifest for secure compute and private logic execution, Gember for full stack orchestration, and chain of trust metadata. Let's walk through how it works end to end. This is where it starts. Regulators publish, we ingest. Using Render's decentralized GPU network for inference compute, Gember parses thousands of pages of regulation, enforcement guidance, and jurisdictional laws. Then, Gember runs AI-enabled workflows to classify, enumerate, and structure them into a machine-readable schema. Now we build the customer-defined knowledge graph. It's a real-time map of what applies by jurisdiction, by business unit, by transactor, by transaction. This used to take weeks, months, or years. Now it's a model that you can query in seconds. Sensitive data, that runs on Manifest. Here we run a gap analysis, a compliance overlay that checks what's missing from this customer's current controls. Render is for inference. Manifest is for secure compute, storage, and execution. And Gember orchestrates it all. Here's the result: a structured, shareable, immutable record of who did what, when, and why. Third parties like banks, auditors, processors can add verification through scoped APIs. Everyone sees the same record. Everyone trusts the same record. We call it the chain of trust. The way it's been is 20 hours a month preparing for audits, cross-team confusion, partner misalignment, and manual work. The way it could be is 30-second uploads, real-time transaction monitoring, verifiable, auditable, compliant transactions with shared truth from day one. You've seen what broken trust costs: the long audits, the long delays, the partner calls full of uncertainty and finger pointing. Gember is how we fix it. Built on Render's decentralized GPUs, executed on Manifest secure compute, and orchestrated by Gember's chain of trust infrastructure. This isn't just a prototype. This is infrastructure running live now. Sign up at the Gember Developer Center, upload your policies, run a test transaction, generate your first chain of trust metadata record. What does this mean for you? Less back and forth, fewer compliance delays, more revenue flowing faster. And when you're ready, your partners can see what they need, securely and verifiably. You're not just building a better backend, you're choreographing financial trust.
As I said at the start, I love this. It's such a cross-section of where we started, with motion graphics artists being at our core and finding use cases that can use the API, to agentic, to even partner integrated solutions where it's not just us, but a series of three of us delivering a consumer solution. Really is a big step in the direction I'm really excited to see the network grow. So with that being said, I don't know if there are any questions for you from the folks we are running up on time, but I'd love to ensure we've covered everything here.
What does it cost to use your solutions, or what kind of costs are there involved?
So our solution cost is electricity, right? So it's just the cost of running a node. The render network is made up of consumer nodes who are at its core motion graphics artists who purchase GPUs and utilize them for other resources. So it's an incremental cost as opposed to a data center having a different approach to it. I think you heard sort of cost savings on the 1/10. That's fairly normal, fairly similar to what we hear on the rendering side. I don't know if Devesh has any thoughts or numbers there, but I would expect a similar large savings from if you were running it on a traditional cloud provider.
Yeah, I can just say the one thing that's quite clear is like if you use a cloud provider, let's say AWS, you know the way the costs scale as you get more and more powerful GPUs is exponential, whereas you definitely don't see that kind of increment. You know, if you're getting a consumer 4090 GPU, for example, the equivalent of that on AWS, it costs you significantly more. So I think that's really our approach there is the hybrid workflow. But I think whenever we need more compute, more memory, all these things, it's kind of a no-brainer that we're going to go that route.
Fantastic, fantastic. Well, listen, guys, thank you so much for joining me here today. I'm really excited to see these progress. What I'd say to the community is we really need your help. RNP voting is something we need much larger participation on. So we really hope that you guys understand what we're trying to do here, that we have partners who could utilize GPUs and help us set up a system for them to do so and to successfully leverage the render network. Thank you.
Thank you.